break. More breaking news this morning. The Raiders have fired head coach Pete Carroll after one season in Las Vegas. The Raiders will have the #1 pick in the upcoming NFL draft. Important to note, Raiders GM John Spytek and Tom Brady will now be in charge of identifying and hiring the team's next head coach. Is this the right decision?
It absolutely was the right decision. I don't give a damn about it. No disrespect to the GM, but I don't give a damn. I want Tom Brady to make that call. Because we all know it's going to be a quarterback who got the #1 overall pick. There's one man that should make this call, and that's a 7-time champion, and it's Tom Brady. Pete Carroll, God bless him. Father Time is undefeated. We say it about players all the time. Sometimes we have to say it about coaches. He looked old. He just looked a bit outdated. It's like there comes a point in time when you're looking at certain people. He's a 2-time national champion. He's a Super Bowl champion as a coach, with the 2 Super Bowls as a head coach. You just got to look at people and sometimes go like this. Yeah, man, the run was good. Yeah. It's over. And that's what I saw when I was watching the Raiders this year. I just said, time's up. Not that he can't coach or anything like that, but today's players, the mentality, the focus, et cetera, et cetera. I just said, a new voice, a new coach.
It's the right decision. The Raiders had consistently the worst tape out of anybody in the NFL. It's the worst roster in football. Yep. And so we can sit here and think that a new coach and having the #1 pick is going to fix it all. It's not. There's one player to really build around. Max. It's Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers. Okay.
And then maybe Genty, and that's still a little bit of like, let's see what you actually are. Max is there, no question. I think they should trade Max. I love Max. He should go to a contender and finish his career. Yes, I agree. They need such an influx in talent. It's remarkable to look at this football team and say, all right, this is going to be a much longer process. This will be their 6th head coach since 2021. So whoever you hire, you better make sure that you're committed to him long term, like literally 3 or 4 plus years. And don't lock in Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback from Indiana, as the #1 pick. Don't. Really nice player. The Dante Moore young man from Oregon, if he comes out, will absolutely warrant to be selected #1 if they choose quarterback. But this roster needs so much talent.
Well, the big piece was this. They were refusing a rebuild when they hired Pete Carroll.
Remember, 10 wins.
Yeah, Pete Carroll isn't the type of coach. He isn't at the age where you expect that he's going to be rebuilding. That's why you go out and you get Geno Smith and you try to add some of these pieces in free agency. You draft Ashton Genty as a running back at 6 because you expected to compete this year. Clearly, that's not it. So now you have to say and concede, we are rebuilding. You got to find you a coach that can rebuild. You have to have people in the executive offices that understand rebuilding. And you have to have people on your team, not like Max Crosby, who will be comfortable with rebuilding. He's the face of that. He's the face of that franchise. He doesn't play rebuild ball.
He's been rebuilt too much.
He could be the scroll
over and over again. But you can utilize him to get more pieces to add to your roster. Pete Carroll should be gone, but choosing your next coach and what you do with the draft capital you have this year are the most important priorities of this offseason.
I don't agree with letting him go. And my reasoning is, yes, is he old? Of course, but did he have enough time to properly develop his system or implement his system? No, he didn't. So as we're talking about the people who make these decisions, I'm getting a lot of looks right now. I don't not like.
They're terrible.
I understand they're terrible, but you make do to what you have. So when I'm saying Tom Brady's making the decisions, right? He's well and qualified to make the decisions. Nobody's denying that. Pete Carroll isn't. It's going to take time.
Yeah, but you know this too, though. It also takes energy, and I'm not, and I am certainly not talking about the energy to move around, the energy to come to work. It takes a different level of energy to understand and to feel that level of sorriness because this team is no good. Pete Carroll hasn't done this, has not had to do this for decades of his life. You need to get someone who is in the mind state of rebuilding because they allow you to draft in the way that you're rebuilding. They allow you to execute roster moves in the way that you're rebuilding. If you're not in that headspace from a mental standpoint, you won't be the right coach to move forward with.
Let me tell you the vantage point I would come from with it if I was writing a column. Tom Brady getting paid $37.5 million a year doing Fox. You see them damn commercials he's doing? Everything is about attention to detail. You know, the motivational stuff that he's doing. The woman in the commercial, great
Avocado
commercial.
ice cream.
And a great commercial and stuff like that, where he's motivating that she's hardcore, she's on top of it, terrorizing grandmas for crying out loud. And then Tom Brady pulls up in the order, way to go. You understand? So pay attention to detail, that kind of stuff, right? They brought you on as a minority owner. You got the #1 overall pick. We know it needs to be a quarterback. I don't care. Let the GM make every other pick. But that pick has to be Tom Brady's. Period. I got a 7-time Super Bowl champion quarterback as a owner of my franchise who just retired a couple of years ago. He's related to the player. Didn't he work out Shedeur Sanders? Wasn't he motivating them? I mean, this dude ain't in his 70s. Tom Brady's now. You're an owner.
But
you're a quarterback.
I'm going to say this.
You are the one that has to make that pick.
The all-time greats sometimes have a problem.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
don't say Jordan. Don't say Jordan.
Listen, I agree with you. But the point is, Tom Brady has earned, and you brought him on as an owner. So just for this pick, I didn't say any other pick. This one right here, the #1 pick, who's going to be a quarterback.
You get yourself in trouble like that.
I don't want to hear anybody. I don't want to hear a damn soul, including Mark Davis, picking the next quarterback for the Raiders. That's got to be Tom Brady. There's not a damn soul that should matter other than Tom Brady for the quarterback. Anything else, fine. But the quarterback, I want to hear one voice. Everybody move out the way. Who you got? Because it's riding on him. This is why I brought you here. This is why I gave you part ownership. Right here, right now.
So the Giants saved their best for last, dominating the Cowboys 34-17 in the final game to get their 4th win of the season. However, the win did not come without a price. Heading into Week 17, New York held the first pick of the draft by winning their last 2 games. The Giants now dropped to the 5th pick of the draft. That pick will be made by Joe Schoen, who the Giants announced this morning is being retained as general manager. Now, this is a familiar story for the Giants, okay? The team has struggled mightily these past 2 seasons, going 4-26 in weeks 1 through 16. But in the final 2 weeks,
that's absurd.
When all that's left to play for is that draft pick, New York somehow is 3-1. Oh, why? How mad should Giants fans be about them winning these final 2 games at the expense of draft picks?
They should be pissed off. And I don't use that word often on national television, but it's apropos. You can't even win right. You lost 9 straight, okay? And you're battling, okay? And you're in position to get the #1 overall pick, and then you turn around and you go and you beat the Raiders. Well, whoop-de-damn-do. And I understand the Cowboys under normal circumstances, but I mean, hell, even Dak Prescott, I mean, major problem. Dak Prescott's age is a very, very special man. I understand that Dak Prescott is not a scrub. He can play. But, boy, this man get his money, and he gets his time off, too, because the brother ain't playing in January. This is what happens, okay? We understand it, all right? He home chilling out. He didn't even wait. They didn't even play the whole game. Let's just somebody. Get the $60 million, though. Get the $60 million. I'm looking at this like this. You're the New York Giants. I'm just looking at a lot of their talent. But let's look at Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart 4-7 as a starter. The brother's been in 5 concussions this year.
Been evaluated for 5.
Yes. Evaluated for 5 concussions. Had at least 3 though. Yeah. Had at least 3. All right, so you got that. All right, Scatterbull can play, but you know, big boy, average 4 yards a carry, but in the same breath, he ain't the second coming to Barry Sanders. The brother can play. I like him a lot, and I wish him nothing but the best. And you got some talent on there. You got Evan there. You got Abdul Carter. You got these cats. I understand that, right? Look at the Giants defense. But I'm like, if you got a shot to get the #1 overall pick, this isn't week 8 or 9 we talking about here. The last 2 weeks of the season. How you winning? Why are you acting like that's important? It's not that damn important. Now, I'm not talking about cats losing. I'm not talking about you putting starters out there and you go out there and lose. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you don't put you get them third stringers up there. Give them some run. You understand? Let them go out there and play. You can't be worried about winning no damn games when you got an opportunity to get a top 2 pick in the NFL draft, at least a top 2 to fall to number 5. I think it's a problem. I'm sorry.
I will say it's organizational because you have a lame duck coach there in Mike Kafka. Now, look, he's going to interview and maybe he gets a good shot, but he's likely not the next coach of the New York Giants. He has no incentive not to play the starters. He has no incentive not to get a win. So you need someone above him to say, hey, listen, it's been a nice run and we'll talk very nicely about you, but you're not playing Jackson Dart in the second half. If they're playing Joe Milton,
Jackson Dart's not in here. I don't think there was any joy for Giants fans seeing them beat the Cowboys. As much as they hate the Cowboys, they don't take any. There's nothing to be gained from those wins. I go back to last year, Week 16 against the Colts. Malik Neighbors is Jerry Rice out there going for 400 yards or something, and it's like that cost them the pick then. So every other team seems to be able to lose right.
All right.
Giants, you can't blame the players. The players are going to play as hard as they can. They have film to do. But if you're the organization, you say, hey, take the dogs off a little bit.
Now you still, if you draft Mendoza or if you draft Dante Moore, what are you really saying drafting two first-round quarterbacks in a span of a year?
Under normal circumstances, you're right. What I would push back on you, though, Cam, is your criticism, which is accurate, by the way, of a Tua Tagovailoa, and the fragility that comes associated with him. Jackson Dart has put himself in a position where you have legitimate concerns about his health because of how he plays, how he says he's not trying to change how he plays, and how vulnerable he has allowed himself to be to those injuries. And if you are an NFL team and you see a rookie, this is not somebody in his third or fourth year, a rookie in concussion protocol 5 times in the same damn season, that's a problem.
And I'm going to tell you how you fix that in 2 ways. Number one, the system around him. That is impacted by the coach you hire. Number 2, personnel. The personnel that is around him. You get somebody to go alongside with Malik Neighbors. You get somebody that can protect your franchise quarterback in Jackson Dart. You also get some help on the defensive side, probably a cornerback that can really kind of bolster up that type of situation. You don't tell a guy who's aggressive to, we don't want you to be aggressive. That's almost like
follow up with you. Go ahead, Peter. I'm follow up.
When you have a higher pick in the draft, you don't control just the first day. You control the whole draft. So you have the first pick of the second round, the first pick of the third round. You look at the Browns last year, whether they wanted a quarterback or not, they had the second pick. They sat on that like it was a bounty of gold. They were then able to look at the Jaguars and say, we're only going to move back 3 picks. We're going to take your first-round pick next year, so we have 2. If they have the 5th pick, they can't do any of that. So in that instance, it doesn't have to necessarily be even quarterback. It's just what the weight of those top 5 picks are. It does matter if you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. At the 5 pick now, you're looking at an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman.
That's what you need, though.
Sure, but you could have traded back and collected more picks and can be more creative. All for what, though? For a Week 18 win where it means literally nothing to anyone.
Where was Julio Jones drafted?
He was 5th overall.
Hello. And the Atlanta Falcons gave everything in the bag of chips to get him, and he panned out.
Yes.
Right? So when you have a top 10 pick, it's valuable. I hear what you're saying, Peter.
Well, go ahead.
I hear what you're saying, but when you start to say pick 1, pick 2, pick 3, that's probably the same pick to me and how I see it from the player personnel side of things. You got 4 through 10, that's almost like the same thing too. When you get a desperate team that knows who exactly they want, you see a guy like Tom Brady who's really going to do his due diligence and studying. It's not just Tom that's going to do that. Everybody is going to do that. Understanding like, yo, we got to do our research. We found our guy. That guy may not be there at 12. That guy may not be there at 8. That guy may not be there at 6. So therefore, you have that collateral that you could potentially get. And I'm saying if I'm New York Giants, I'm not stressing as much for the wins, but it's something to say Jackson Dart is who he is. I don't want to change Jackson Dart.
Hold on from him.
Hold on, my brother. You know, I've been, obviously going to school at Winston-Salem State HBC. It's only an hour, 15 minutes or so from Charlotte, North Carolina. Place he's very, very familiar with.
Very familiar.
And they got a basketball team down there. And I recall you being at a few of those basketball games. And as I scour the NBA over the last 30 years, I would tell you, Shae, Peter, there's a whole bunch of NBA fans in the NFL. One of the biggest reasons why y'all are fans are the players. Because y'all believe yourselves to be superior athletes for the most part.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
See where I'm going. Right? But you certainly give them props when it comes to the pay.
Sure.
They know how to get paid.
Yes, sir.
You see, you pay attention to that stuff. And they know how to maneuver through the minefield and play the long game. See where I'm going? What I'm saying is this. We've seen NBA teams flop all the damn time. How you think the Spurs got Tim Duncan? How you think the Spurs got David Robinson? Why you think Jerry Colangelo, or Brian Colangelo rather, struggled, once he passed up on Jason Tatum to get Markelle Fultz? You understand? When the Lakers picked Magic Johnson, you could have had a Sidney Moncrief or somebody. Nah, you understand what I'm saying? Jack Cook, I need the show.
You want to know the difference?
No, what I'm saying to you is this. I understand there's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I'm simply making the point. I get the incentive in the contracts and all that stuff.
There's a way to lose.
I'm talking about the coach and I'm talking about the organization.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about the player being on the field.
Yep.
You understand? Because a lot of the NBA teams don't put the players on the court and they lose it on purpose. That's not what it is. What you do is you take inferior talent compared to what's normally on the court that got a smaller chance to win, and you make sure their ass is on that court.